Yeah, so that reminds me, one of our children services providers, Richard, we have children come into our residential programs who have the clothes on their back. When they leave, they are given a suitcase full of their choice of clothing as they move from that location into a foster arrangement. Many of these children never had a suitcase, never had enough clothes or
Oh, they
personal
have a
possessions
black
to put in.
garbage bag.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I wasn't going to say it, but that's
Yeah.
exactly what they come in with. But they do not leave with that because there's no dignity in a black garbage bag.
Welcome to Sharpen the Spear podcast, where we help manufacturing executives command the front and win the floor. I'm Richard Walsh, creator of the Sharpened Impact methodology, and I spent decades helping leaders transform frontline teams, unlock hidden profit, and capture capacity they didn't even know they had. If you want to see where your leadership gaps are costing you and how to fix them, head over to grittolead.com and run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator today. Let's sharpen your edge and get started. And we are back on STS Sharpen, the Spear podcast, with another incredible guest, Ryan Dewey Smith. Ryan is with us. And Ryan, no one knows Ryan better than Ryan. So, Ryan, I need the backstory, bring us up to speed so we can get into a great conversation.
All right, sounds good. First of all, Richard, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I am Ryan Dewey Smith. I'm the founding executive chairman of Imperium Inc. Imperium is a national nonprofit aggregator holding company that owns membership interests in over 40 nonprofit companies operating in 20 states, providing education, foster care, intellectual and developmental disability, and other services to populations of people who need our help. We are the company that helps the companies that are behind the scenes doing all the back office, finance, and treasury work so that they can sustain their missions and have more profound impacts to the people they serve. Richard, I started my career back in the late 80s with a degree in psychology and a minor in business. I tinkered around working for other people in partial hospitalization programs, did a little work with adults and children with attention deficit disorder. And then I started working at my first company that served people with intellectual disabilities in 1993, was the CEO there for 2.5 decades before I started Imperium, primarily intellectual and developmental disability residential programs, 100 homes serving people with Down syndrome, autism, all different functioning levels across that intellectual disability spectrum, from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia and everywhere in between in Pennsylvania. And today, the impacts are much greater through Imperium. And I'm excited to talk about everything and anything with you today.
That's awesome, man. That's good work. That's good work. So here's an interesting thing. The nonprofit space, okay, like anything, okay, it spans all. There's good, bad. There's a lot. It covers a lot, right? Covers a lot, and I have a lot of interest in it. I think I had one woman contact me once, Ryan, who wanted she got she's speaking all over. She's got an incredible story, the whole thing, overcoming all this stuff, and everything. But someone wanted to give her $2 million to start a nonprofit, and she's like, "Oh, seriously?" I mean, she goes like, "They want me to do it." Like, I don't know anything about doing this. I go, all I know is a nonprofit is like a tax status, so I think I should talk to a business person. That's kind of the thing. I go, you're on the right track already. You're thinking just right. Okay, because too many people don't do that. So I'd love to kind of dial in, since you're doing this on such an extraordinary level. Maybe we just start there, like what it is, kind of give us the super high view, but then we got to get into a little bit about what, like, because you mentioned about the people in the back office, the people who are making it actually sustain and doing all that kind of stuff. So I'd love to kind of start there so people understand what it's 501c3 or it's all the different, again, we don't have to go all nuts and bolts, but let's set kind of a base that we can launch off of.
Sure. Nonprofit is a tax status. IRS sets the type. They're 501c 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep going, depending upon educational institution, services organization, collaborative group, community outreach center. They all have different meanings and definitions. As a nonprofit, it doesn't mean not for a profit, Richard. It means that we have no owners, we have no stakeholders. Earnings that are achieved through operations are reinvested back in the business. They're not issued as dividends to shareholders or stakeholders. And the mission is first. But there is a belief and an understanding that no money, no mission, no mission, no money. So anyone who wants to start a nonprofit, it's good to speak to attorneys and business folks so that first you can determine if your intent and purpose is of a charitable, a pure public charity basis. So if you can qualify to be a nonprofit, there's an involved process. It's called a 1043 application. This is when you go out to the IRS's website. It's 25 or 30 pages of information you must submit. The IRS reviews those materials and then determines whether or not you are exempt from paying federal income tax based upon your organizational structure, your board composition, and your mission.
Awesome. Awesome. Good. I think that makes it a little clearer for everyone. Okay. It's a real thing. It's just not something, you don't just go around knocking on doors with a bucket. Okay. Like that doesn't work. Okay. So that's really good. So from there, again, you labeled a lot that you're actually part of, that you're working with and helping. You covered a lot of different things from the foster thing, right? So that's how we got 3 of our kids came through the foster program, and they ended up adopting them and everything else. So it was really cool. Again, these agencies that are out there doing these kind of things, and that's some hard work. Okay, that's some stuff. I mean, we went through quite a bit. I have 6 kids, so I have 3 biological and 3 adopted, but so great stuff, right? So I love that kind of stuff. We do, I think with church, we started one so that we were separate from the church. And we're actually out helping the community, all the community help that are doing things already, women's shelters, men's shelters, all that. We support them. See, so we're able to do that. Like, I'll give you an example. A women's shelter. Hey, you know what they need? Well, everyone thinks they need cash, but they also need shampoo. So we get these giant pallets with the big boxes and we load it with shampoo. Everyone brings in a bottle, covered. They got shampoo for a year plus. You know what I mean? Like really cool stuff. Like we really got into helping the ones doing the work, help them do it better, right? Like make it easier on certain things, So anyways, that's kind of my exposure for the most part, other than people in business and they're looking to go that direction, or they do charitable things with a portion of their profits, right? Which is very different. That's not a nonprofit. They're literally giving to charity, right? And getting a write-off from that aspect as well. So from there, what's kind of the process? Are you establishing these? Are people coming to you to establish a nonprofit and you're working with them? So kind of drill down a little bit on your exact hands-on approach. What's going on there?
Sure. So Richard, I want to just comment on your providing shampoo as a nonprofit to other nonprofits. That's very much in the spirit of Imperium. Within the 501c3 classifications as a nonprofit, there are what's called supporting organization classifications. These are the 509A3 classes. So these are nonprofits, so they're 501c3s, but whose primary purpose is to support other nonprofits. They are not in the services space, so they're not doing the foster care, placement work, screening of the families, background checks, home visits, therapeutic interventions. That supporting organization is not doing that work. They're doing the work in the background: payroll, HR, treasury, revenue cycle, collecting their receivables, managing their donations and grants for compliance, doing their audit reports, filing their 990s. That's a supporting organization that helps other nonprofits. That's what Imperium does. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit and a 509A3 type 1 supporting organization. Our mission is to help others, much like what you're doing through that separate entity you established through your church. To answer your question more directly, we help de novo startups. An aspect of our business is the woman gets the grant for $2 million, doesn't know where to begin. She reaches out to Imperium. We use our legal expertise, structural expertise, governance expertise to incorporate, file for an employee identification number, an EIN, do the 1023 application for nonprofit status, help set up their accounting system. So we do that de novo work. But the majority of our partners, Richard, are long-standing nonprofits. Our oldest is 150 years. the
Wow.
Children's Home of Reading. They've been around for 150 years. They are one of our affiliated subsidiaries in the Imperium model. So basically, it is birth to 150 years old, and everything in between is who we help.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's like I said, that I love that aspect because I think in a lot of areas, especially in you being in the support thing again from 0 to 150 years, right? You're working everything in between there. There's a lot of experience there that's gathered that you can pull from these from your actual nonprofits, right? So you can also learn and you can use some of that information to help these startup nonprofits, right? I mean, 150 years, they've seen a few things. Okay, they've ridden some waves. Let's just say that's up and down, right? So it's kind of cool when you get to those organizations and you're able to, let's call it network or collaborate.
We call it intra constellation collaboration, Richard.
That's a cool name. That should be on a
Right?
poster,
Yeah. So we
like
call
Alpha Centauri or something.
yeah, we call what we've built a constellation because, like a constellation, it's dependent upon the planets, the stars, everyone working in concert as a system. So we refer to it as a constellation. And that interconnectivity, that interconnectedness really supports the 1 + 1 + 1 = 9 and not 3 because of everything you spoke of. You bring all these companies together with subject matter expertise, geographical knowledge, services space acumen, and all of a sudden you have this group of people working in unison for the benefit of those that need the services the most.
Well, I think to your point, now you have to think about this like, so everyone's a nonprofit, okay, and all this group you have, okay. Well, they're all giving. Okay. So that's a large group of givers. If you've ever been around givers, okay, you know what they do a lot? They give. Okay. They're not takers. Okay. So their whole mindset is supporting others, helping others, giving to others. Um, I'm not to that degree. I'm just going to be honest. Like I give, but it's not my primary function. Okay. I'm a business guy and all that stuff, but like and I'm not envious. I'm just saying like that's a whole nother class. Okay. The people who are taking that stuff on as their mission. Okay. There's a lot to that. Right. And there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, I love them just for the willingness to give all the time. And that's what they do. But I also look at the other side. This is me. And I don't know where you came into this. Did you come into it, Ryan, because like you have this knowledge from the business and that kind of stuff, and you thought I can help these nonprofits? Like you wanted to help nonprofits, but you also had the business, so you kind of brought the two together. Go, I can actually help them, and that kind of became your mission. Am I reading that right?
That's right, Richard. And we are givers as nonprofit operators. We need to get a lot better at taking because if you only give and you don't take, all of a sudden, guess what? Nothing left to give is the outcome. And then that's not a positive outcome for mission sustainability. And that's what this is all about, is sustaining missions for the people who need the services.
Yeah, we're gonna drill down this a little bit, okay? Because I do this often with people I know in the nonprofits, or they want to start one, or they have one, and they're out getting like a $500 donation, and they're trying to get this and this, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I tell them, mission, I go, listen, little money does little things. Big money does big things. If you want to do big things, you have to ask for big money. Okay? Because people with big money do big things. And they're not going to give you $500 because that doesn't do anything. Okay, I don't mean nothing, but you get what I'm saying, right? They ask for 100 G's, well, that'll do something. They're probably going to stroke a check if they believe in the cause, et cetera, right? But I think just from a mindset standpoint, when a lot of the people in the nonprofit space, they have, because of what they do, and I want to get your take on this. I'm just kind of processing this off the cuff here, but because they're givers, and to your point, if they don't ever ask or they don't ever take, they run out. But they have that, so it tends to be, I don't have a better term than kind of a poverty mindset. They're dealing with people with lack. Okay, whether that's to help a disabled child or a prophet or a men's shelter, a woman, they're in lack, right? So they get in that mindset. So the asking becomes very difficult because they think everyone's in lack. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It's easier to ask when you're on offense, not defense, Richard. And offense is capital, well collateralized, and having profound impacts. But yes, to your point, $500 donations help to move the needle, but larger ones have greater impacts and more profound outcomes, which is what people want to see with the money that they give to nonprofits. They want to see impacts that are visual, that feel good. A child getting winter clothes, an individual being able to have school supplies on the first day of school. Those are the rewards that people want to see from their donations to charities. And if you're using your dollars wisely around the costs that are associated with doing business that don't impact the people that need the services, payroll, insurance, staff benefits, if those costs are too excessive and you're not having the impacts you should to the people that need it, you have a duty and a responsibility to drive down those indirect costs as little as possible. That's what Imperium helps to do. We help to take operating expenses from 18 to 20% of budget to less than 10% of budget.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. That is, and this, this is the key to this, right? There's so much. Uh, it's like government, right? We're at like 30% is waste and fraud, right? Pretty much. I'm probably being super generous. I think we saw that in the last couple of years. I'm being maybe we're at 60% or more. But but in a nonprofit, you have to be a good steward. Okay, you're being given this money, whatever the number is, $1,000 or a million, whatever it is, 2 million. It's like you have to be a good steward of that, but they don't get the business operational side because they're givers. They're out front. They want to do this and want to fulfill needs. They don't get the operational side and what it takes. And you talk about payroll. I do with a regular business owner. Forget just the nonprofit. Like, listen, that comes around every week or two, forever. Okay. I talk about my kids like that. I go, they're always on the payroll. Okay. Your kid forever, they're on the payroll, right? So we're always dipping in one pocket or another, just to help them out. So, but payroll is that thing. It crushes businesses. It'll crush your nonprofit. It'll just drain. It's a drain. Okay. It's necessary. But like you said, if you can get it from a 25% drain to a 10 or under, that's huge. Okay, that's really good stuff. And I think accounting and all the other little things that make a business run. Okay. Now I ignored a lot of that stuff in my first business. I did it, or someone did it, or I didn't do it. All right. It actually ended up collapsing my entire business, because I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't think it was important. Okay. And people need to get paid, and Uncle Sam needs his lunch money. Okay. From my business. All right. He's the bully. He's got to take it. So I didn't want to give it to him. I don't like bullies. So, but that didn't work well for me. Okay. So I'm just saying, like, people have to really be paying attention to all this operational stuff you don't see. You see him out front, you see him giving, you see him doing that, but man, the hard work is back in the office, right? And those costs can run away like crazy.
And quickly and without monitoring and awareness can be detrimental to business success. And for profits, nonprofits, to your point, any business, if you
Right.
take your eye off the ball on those back office hidden costs that creep, insurance renewals, work comp rates, all of a sudden a perfect storm turns into a problem really quickly. And if you're undercapitalized, you don't have access to cash or lines of credit, and you have payroll in a week, or the kids need something, now you have a real crisis.
Yeah, the doors close really quick and unexpectedly. I mean, it should be expected because you haven't done any of the work, but it's not. You just, you're trying to go on your good vibes. You know what I mean? But that's not getting the work done. So it's really important that people understand this. And
And
it's
Richard, nonprofits are generally run by social workers. Rarely do you see a nonprofit leader CEO run by a business person first and a social worker second. It's generally a PhD clinician or an MSW.
right.
These are the CEOs that we have running our nonprofits, rightfully so. They're helpers, they're givers, they're mission based. What we need to identify as folks with those degrees, that's me, is that we're not good at understanding those back office costs. And we really need to rely on others who are to help us drive those costs down so we can do the good work we've been trained to do in those terminal degrees like Masters of Education, Masters in Social Work, Masters in Nursing. I think that's an important part. It's not a bad thing, but we need to be aware of our downfalls and our weaknesses.
I think so. To your point here, I think what people need to do who are looking to start a nonprofit, okay, they probably should get with someone like you, or at least go, okay, I get what I want to do out front and give and serve and all that, but what's it actually going to take? I need like the real roadmap. I need the org chart, if you will. Like, who's got to be on staff? Who do I hire? Do I do volunteers? Do I do a combination? Like, how do I get these? I got 5 people that I need for a back office. How do I make that work? And they can't all be in house because I can't afford that. So am I going virtual? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? Like, so is that one of those things that you also help with? Like, I
Flow
really
charting and
encourage people
decision
before
trees.
the launch. They
Yep.
got to have an understanding of that.
Flow charting and decision trees, Richard, so that you know what the priorities are. Again, social work led. What are we about? We are about impacts to the people who need us. That's where we start. That's what our comfort zone. What we're not good at is payroll providers, quarterly federal income tax returns, annual audit, 990 tax filing. That we're not good at. So we tend to stick away and stay away from that. That's what comes back to cause us issues with rendering the services through our mission-based businesses.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's people, I do a lot of business coaching, I do a lot of different stuff, but it's people see you always hear, they see the success. They see you own a business. They see you're out front or you're driving a better car or whatever it is. They never ask about the back off, the inside. What actually goes on a daily? What do you do every week? What do you do every month? How do you keep all this going? How are you growing? How are you doing all this stuff? It's not just because you do something well. Like, yeah, I'm the best at what I do. Then I lost everything, but I'm the best at what I do.
Right.
But,
So Richard, it takes grit. It takes grit to run a business.
Yep.
Grit and a short memory, I like to tell people, right? You can't remember, you want to not forget, but you can't focus on remembering too much, and you have to have grit. That's important.
Greatest book. You read Grit, Angela Duckworth. Have you read that
No,
book?
I
Oh
haven't.
my God. Oh, Ryan, you got to read that book.
Okay.
Get the book Grit.
Okay.
Easy to remember. Okay.
Yes,
Angela
very.
Duckworth, phenomenal. But she has a grit test. I'm just saying, not bragging. I'm 97% on the grit test. Okay. Like I crush it when it comes to grit. Knowing I am too stupid to quit. Okay. Which is a great trait for grit. Okay. So it's served me
And
well.
success.
That's
And
right.
success.
That's right. Yeah, but yeah, a really awesome book. You should check. You'll love it. You'll love it. But yeah, that's what it is. And I think, to me, and maybe it's why I don't do nonprofits. I think it might hurt my grit score because I might, like, I don't know if I can hang in there. I'm just saying, like, I mean, there has to be this, like, we all have a passion for something, right? So mine's business, I'm manufacturing, doing all this stuff, but that passion for what you're doing out front has to be also brought to the back end, right? And doesn't mean that you have to be passionate about doing it. You don't have to be passionate about accounting, because that's never going to happen with me. Okay, but I could be passionate about getting the right people in the right seats, right, for the right expense, if you will, right? Like, I need to understand, like, there's great people, but I can't hire them because they want 250 grand a year. That's not happening. So what do we got to do? So I think it's really building the proper team in the right structure that's focused on the correct mission, but it has to equal, right? So wherever you're beginning, now you want to grow these. I know there's massive not-for-profits, right? Guys been around 150 years. There's a lot of them that are big and maybe they shouldn't be. Just saying. Okay. There's a lot.
No, agreed.
Maybe we talk about that a little later.
Yeah, Richard, building a partnership where you are one of instead of the one, trying to hire the $250,000 accountant who can do the job that you could never do as a standalone nonprofit. When you're part of Imperium or other aggregators, for profit, nonprofit, whatever service industry you're in, hell, painting cars, catering.
Right.
If you lever partnerships by creating scale economies and efficiencies, you can attract better talent, pay better, and have better results at a lower cost than what you can being the one versus one of. And striking those partnerships in a balance that allows for autonomy and independence, collaboration, and savings is exactly what we do at Imperium for 10 years now.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's talk about that a little bit because you always hear networking and then collaboration. These are all cool words. Okay. But now I'm the charity car guy, donate your car. We'll go get it, whatever. That's cool. You're the women's center. You're this, you're that. Like, what are you doing? So let's take three, four, five of these as a collaboration. Like when you say it benefits each other, like just give us kind of a scenario, if you will, of what that looks like. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, sharing of common requirements within a services vertical. So, for instance, when you're serving a child with Down syndrome or Asperger's or autism, there's a certain medical complexity in their care. When you're part of a group of three or four in a partnership, you can get the best in class physicians to come in and work with the organizations across all the people that they're serving that you would not be able to do standalone. You would have to outsource that, not have the level of expertise or access to the professionals because you've built that scale. IT systems, probably the biggest example of where scale, size, and ability to pay definitely upgrades what you have access to. From cybersecurity to health records to benefits portals, the larger you are and the more scalable your business is, the better those systems get. It's like Toyota to Lexus, Honda to Acura, right? Same
Right.
scenario, Richard. Those are examples of the partnerships that are created. Collaboration. So I'm sitting in Texas serving veterans who have physical complications from battle. And I come across a situation with an amputee that needs modifications to their home to remain in their home. I can call my counterpart in Delaware that's doing a similar business and say, hey, I got Richard. He's a dual amputee. He's aging. We're having some issues. Who've you used to try to modify the home? What worked? What didn't? What did you learn? You have all that collaboration that can happen because we have 20 companies. I'm sorry, 40 companies sitting in 20 states across all these common services. So everyone can learn from each other's successes and failures and work together to have more efficient outcomes. And more efficient outcomes always relates to dollars and cents, which then feeds back to having money for your mission.
That is awesome. That is a great explanation, Ryan. Again, that's that power we talked a little bit earlier. These people who have been in the game a long time or doing just the different things. Same thing. I know a floor guy. I know a bathroom guy. I know a custom home builder, right? I got a roofer. I was a roofer. I got all these different things, right? So it's like you're right. When you can tap into that, that's the key. Subcontractors, great example. Okay, I build houses, but I got an HVAC guy, I got a plumbing guy, I got a floor guy, I got all these people who I can just tap into. And when I'm bidding, same principle, right? What's this going to cost me? I can run that stuff through them, right? We can find out what this is. So at least you can get a ballpark on costs on different things. Maybe you need, but you haven't done before because you don't do it all the time. I think it's awesome. You can reach out and you have that network that you've built, to get into that. That's really fantastic. I like the whole concept of that for sure.
And
So,
scaled purchasing, Richard, is
oh,
vehicles, school supplies for our schools that we have in Reading and Arizona, food for all the shelters and all the day programs and residential programs that we serve elderly. We leverage all those food costs so people are eating better food, more healthy food, and it's costing fresh vegetables, it's costing less. The examples are, cell phones, computers, everything you could imagine is much more scalable when you're one of versus the one and
yeah.
part of this $1 billion network. And all that goes back to better services to the people at the end of the services scope. The staff closest to them have better benefits, less copays. I had a call today, Richard, with a CEO of a company in Texas who's thinking about affiliating with Imperium. He has staff who are not getting medical procedures done because they can't afford the out-of-pocket premiums they'll have to pay to have the actual procedures done. So they're delaying them until
Right.
they have the co-pays available. That's a terrible narrative.
Right.
People who need surgeries, not elective, I'm talking necessary medical procedures, shouldn't have to wait to save like a Christmas gift for that deductible because they're so high and counterproductive to people getting health care. But that's a real example from 2 hours ago.
Yeah, that's yeah, for sure. That's wild. That is wild. And I think, like a couple of things. One thing that comes to mind when you're talking about the IT stuff and these larger things, I'm like, yeah, you're dealing with people's medical records and some of this stuff, right? You have data on people, like, and you got to protect that stuff, right? I mean, you're this nonprofit. You can't just, oh, hey, look, American Express got hacked. Disney got hacked, ransomware, $157 million. They want to get their stuff back. You know what I mean? It's like they might not be coming for your small thing, but the whole idea of that ability, that's difficult and that's ongoing. It's not set it, forget it kind of stuff. I do a lot in the tech stuff now myself, and it's like, holy cow, is it a lot?
The cyber threat actors are more advanced than any of our systems that we have to stop them. And if you think for a minute, whatever you're running today in the cloud, two-factor authentication, and all of your cyber tool set is adequate when you have protected health information under PHI through HIPAA and or financial information, payroll records, social security number, home address, all those other that steal someone's identity, you need to keep that under cyber lock and key.
Right.
And they are out ahead beyond what we even can imagine. Having the right systems, keeping them current, always updating them is essential to maintaining the integrity of that data.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to the point, people don't think about this stuff. It's just out there. You know what I mean?
Until they come to work and there's a timer on their computer telling them that they just achieved access to all of their payroll records. And unless they pay a ransom, they're not getting any of it back. And they're going to sell it to some entity who's going to steal everyone's identity and take out American Express credit cards on their credit and start a buying spree. That's a real story.
Yeah,
those are real realities.
Yeah, I have a friend, good friend of my son's actually, and his encryption abilities are unbelievable. It's one of the best in the world. You got like U.S. government, he's 4x that, right? But and he'll tell you, well, it's unhackable for now.
For now.
Okay. I mean, it's like you have to have the caveat for now. Okay, because it's always there's someone always working to get that information. And it doesn't matter. It's not like they have to get Bank of America. They go to the individual, they go to anyone, they're just getting access. It starts a whole domino effect. People don't realize how connected everything is from a digital standpoint these days. I was talking to I had a guest on yesterday just from merchant processing, taking payments. It's like 90 some percent, 95, 97% is digital, everything digital. There's like cash is it'd be great to get it, but like no one does, right? So it's a whole different animal. And there's a whole thing to that, from security and everything else, So it's, again, these are things that I kind of enjoy talking about this a little because no one is except Ryan, except you, right? Because you're dealing with this stuff. But I think just the awareness of what this takes to produce a nonprofit of a successful, whatever that, there's a lot of different, degrees of success, but whatever that is to be able to pull that off on a consistent basis, again, and you're worried about protecting data and you're worried about doing the books and doing the taxes and doing everything else, having the incomes done, going out forward and then delivering your service, and then fundraising, because then it's like, where's all this money coming from? Right. So let's talk about that since I just brought it up by accident. Okay. let's talk about like, you got to fund this stuff. Right. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I'm sure there's a lot of different levels where funding comes from and stuff like that. So give people kind of a high view of what that actually looks like and what these people are up against to keep the doors open from a financial standpoint.
Sure. Payers are many and complex. They range from the federal government, Medicaid, Medicare, Center for Medicaid Services, Health and Human Services at the federal level provide funding for veterans, housing, agriculture. Single federal award grants come out of the federal government for substance use disorder, education, food programs for underserved children. That's a large tier of the funding at the federal level. And then from there, it just trickles down. State level, Commonwealth of PA, New Jersey, each state has a degree of funding. Then within the state, there's counties or municipalities that fund services, shelters, women's drop-in centers, safety centers, that's funded by the local communities. Then you have managed care organizations, so our insurance carriers pay for services. Aetna, Highmark, Blue Cross Blue Shield, they are payers. Then you have your individual donors, the people that philanthropically make contributions to companies that they believe in the missions, that give you a grant with certain parameters. I need you to spend X amount over the coming year for these certain people with these certain outcomes that you have to manage. So each of those payers gives you money. With that money comes criteria and expectations, reporting demands, outcomes that they're looking for, and then an annual renewal. Most funding is a 12-month churn. You submit a budget, you get an approval, you start your funding July 1, it ends June 30, and you start the process over again. These aren't leap of faith contracts, I like to call them, or in perpetuity funds. These are short window, short-lived, 12-month, put up or shut up, or we're going to give our money elsewhere. So you're constantly having to produce and show the positive benefits you're making, maintaining your fiduciary responsibility and not overpaying for certain back office aspects, taking away from the deliverables. It is a constant battle in nonprofit and all services organizations. Same with a restaurant, same with an automotive garage, same expectation. Your payer's that restaurant person who's coming in for a meal, right? And they're going to let you know at the end if they're coming back and if they like the meal by how they pay and how they tip. We have that same expectation in the nonprofit space.
And that's a really important distinction that people need to understand, because again, you throw the nonprofit out there. Okay. So you ever think, that's what people are like, I don't want anything for free. Okay. Free is no good. Okay. I'm just like, it's free. So there's no value to it, right? Like people give it to you, and I'm not saying don't give free stuff. I'm just saying, like, there isn't anything that's free. There's no such thing. It's cost someone something, right? But I think too many people in the nonprofit, or they're not in the, they're outside the non, they're looking at it like, what's the big deal? Where's the accountability? All that kind of stuff. And it is all there. Because like you said, it's again, it's a tax status. Like any business, you got to keep serving your customers. You got to be delivering value. You got to be helping people. Someone's going to ask, where'd the money go? Okay, whether it's your accountant or your wife, I don't know. I mean, they're going, where's the money? Why can't we eat? Okay, like that it happens. I'm just saying, maybe from experience. I don't know, but you just have to know, like, like it's not what it appears to be. In your mind, you just think they're out helping people. Well, you don't get, again, I think the whole purpose of our conversation here today is understanding what it takes to pull this off. Okay.
Yeah, just because you're a nonprofit doesn't mean you're not accountable. You're as accountable to, and in some instances, probably more accountable for what you're doing than some profit organizations who are accountable to the SEC if they're traded on the stock market and the owners of the company. When you're a nonprofit, you're accountable to every one of those payers, the people you're serving. There are no shareholders getting distributions. They're the payers expecting outcomes. That's who you're accountable to. So it's very much the same.
Yeah. I want to drive that home. So people really have this thing. I need them to, and I'm talking about myself too, have a higher level of appreciation for what's going on in these organizations.
Yeah, nonprofits don't get handouts. Nonprofits aren't unregulated. Nonprofits aren't giving something that's free and worthless in value. Nonprofits are providing a needed service with other people's hard-earned money that would otherwise leave people in our community in situations that would jeopardize their health and safety and well-being. And that is what nonprofits exist to do.
You know what it reminds me of? It's weird, but so John Rockefeller, right, making all that dough back in turn of the century, all that stuff. Then his son, he put his son in charge of giving the money away, and his son, so John Jr., whatever he is, he says the most stressful thing he's ever done in his life. Just allocate. It was billions and billions. It's like, and he said it almost drove him to the grave. The responsibility. Everybody wants them, but then actually having, where's this going to go? Who's going to go? We're going to do libraries. We're going to do this. We're going to do this, and I'm not saying every nonprofit has got that problem. Okay. What to do with all the money? What I'm saying is, like, when you're serving and you're giving and you have that, and a nonprofit's got it. It's just an in and out. It's an in through one door and it's out the other. It's in right hand goes, the left hand goes to the recipients. You know what I mean? But they're accountable for all three, right? They're accountable for the payers, as you said, the people working in the organization itself and those they serve. So that's a lot.
It is.
It's I just, just from an empathy standpoint, you know what I mean? You got to kind of have that new lens to look at these things through, right? It's kind of that's why I'm enjoying the conversation, because a lot of people don't get to look at it through this lens. They see one aspect or the other. Some are only on the giving side, meaning that it is pay. And there's this thing, we all have money, we all want it, we all need it, but there's also your time that you can give, right? And I remember, I think it was David Thoreau, Henry David Thoreau. He talked about the time. I'm going to just give the money, but it's the time. They give money, will go away from me, kid. Here, take $10. Get out of here. He was like, go spend an hour with them. Go dedicate 2 hours. So there's that aspect of this too, from a volunteer standpoint, or whatever that looks like. Like, we do a thing at church. We do this backpack thing. You're talking about backpacks. For every school year, we load them up with all the school supplies, the backpacks. But here's what we found. Okay, it's really cool. We charge $5 for the backpack to the recipients. Okay, people are, well, why are you doing it? Because it's dignity.
And if you pay for something, you view it as having value.
And like, I paid something.
The backpacks probably cost you $100 to assemble, but them paying $5, they take ownership and pride in it more than they would if they were just giving it for nothing.
That's right. And we'll do, I think last year we did 500 some backpacks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The woman, Sarah, who runs our whole, she's like dynamo. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that reminds me, one of our children services providers, Richard, we have children come into our residential programs who have the clothes on their back. When they leave, they are given a suitcase full of their choice of clothing as they move from that location into a foster arrangement. Many of these children never had a suitcase, never had enough clothes or personal possessions to put in. Bag. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I wasn't going to say it, but that's exactly what they come in with. But they do not leave with that, because there's no dignity in a black garbage bag.
Yeah. When we would, at our first, he's a day old, they brought him to live with the black bag. Here. They called us 45 minutes notice. Oh, got a newborn. We'll bring him by to see in 45 minutes. So I rush home. Here you go. I mean, nothing's wrong with the agency. I mean, they're doing their thing, but that was it. It's like, oh, look at that. That's something. When that was, that happened 3 times. So it's like, it again, people don't get that, something like that, like a legit suitcase. Dude, again, back to a dignity thing. That there's a greater sense of permanence with that piece of luggage than a garbage bag. Just
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah.
It's these little things that you get. A lot of these organizations think of this. Like, I wouldn't. I'm just some dude. Okay. I'm like a guy who just, I don't know. It's a bag. I don't care. Put whatever, I just carry my toothbrush around in my hand. I don't know. It doesn't, but like people like, well, probably more on the women's side. My wife, she thinks of all that stuff. She knows, like, she's into this stuff. She helps these kids. She works with disabled kids, right? The Asperger's and the autistic and all that stuff, but there's a whole different sense of understanding that they have in these little things that make all the difference, right? And that's the kind of the beauty for me of these nonprofits, because they get that, and the people that take that and then they make it really, they make it a thing, right? And it changes the lives, and it helps these kids and everything else in such a cool way. I just have a great appreciation for it, because I don't think of that way. I don't think that way.
Yeah.
But
I can feel that appreciation in our conversation today. It's evident that it's meaningful to you.
yeah,
Your
it's awesome.
energy and your excitement, the way you show up about it is very clear.
Thank you. Yeah, but it's just I love what you're doing, because I've never met anyone doing what you're doing. Are you like the first of your kind or what here, Ryan? Like, tell me about what you're doing, because it seems like you got 40. That's a lot going on here. Like, did you pioneer this? Was this a model you saw and you replicated it, or took it to the next level? What's the story on that?
Well, it's really a deviation of a traditional merger acquisition between two for-profit companies with nuancing for the nonprofit governance structure with autonomy and independence built into the structure, still allowing for consolidation and the synergy through scale leverage from a governmental accounting perspective. So we can go out to the public municipal markets and source capital through municipal tax exempt bonds that are then publicly traded through EMA, which is much like the stock market, but for nonprofit companies. There are other aggregators that are doing this work, meaning assembling companies together as a network or group under a common parent. Generally, they're in a specific services area. So all the women's shelters groups together, all the IDD groups are together. What makes us different and unique is we're agnostic to where you operate and what you provide. We're all about helping sustain missions. And if we can support you to do better and be better, and it works for you and it works for us, we welcome you into the network.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's really, really cool. I just think it's just unique. I love what you've done with it. I mean, it's just, what's the future for you? What does that look like expansion wise? If you got 40 now, are you looking for 60? What are you just letting it grow? Is there intention? What do you got going on?
Very much organically going to grow the business, Richard. We look at every opportunity and start with yes and build the no. So everyone who comes to us, it's yes, we can help, and here's how we're going to figure out how to do that. That's just the spirit in which we operate. So there is no bar set. We're going to stop at 50 companies. We're going to stop at 100. My hope is when I'm long gone after founding this company 10 years ago, in another 15 or 20 years, that the next leader takes it to the next level. I don't think there's any real high watermark that will stop us. I believe we have a process and a system that can create these opportunities to all services sectors beyond health and human services. I think we can help shortwave radio operators, truck
Right.
drivers. I think our model can be replicatable across all businesses, and it's always morphing and changing as we listen to feedback and learn from the mistakes that we make through the partnerships, because we're fallible and human. So we set out to do things that we think are going to be helpful. They end up not being, and we have to pivot. We try not to replicate those mistakes. We're very much AI oriented, which is also exciting. We have contracts with some providers that do a lot of work around our tendencies, what's been successful, who we can help, so that we make sure we're addressing our target populations. So again, the possibilities are endless, Richard.
Well, I love that you've maintained agility in your business structure. Like, that's really important. I think a lot of people get a little too narrow. I get the main thing being the main thing. I always tell people, like, I get that, but the advantage is always being agile. Always
We
those
call it
pivots that
C.
come.
We
Yeah,
call it C, search, evaluate, and execute.
love it,
You
love it.
cannot have target fixation or in any business, Richard. No target fixation. If you
Right.
focus on one lone target, everything that's happening in the peripheral is going to get you.
Yeah, it's I tell people, you got goals and you got targets. I go, targets are great because they move and you can hit them. Goals are kind of way out there. You know what I mean? Like I got to start at the 100 line firing, the 100 yard firing line. Then I go 200, then I go 300, then I can do 500. But I can work through the targets. Once I can hit the closer ones, I can then go for one a little further. So agility gives you the ability to really hit targets. And start to define things that way. And you've got multiple people firing on different targets. So it's really cool. So it's kind of, that's my mindset with that kind of stuff. And I'm glad to see you kind of be doing that in your model. Because that is what's going to create longevity. It really is, because that adaptability, if that's a company culture, if it's what's in that will continue to thrive. And if you think you never need to be agile, like I don't know, you haven't done much. Okay. You get out and adapt. Like it's always adapted, right? So it's just that's the only constant, is nothing's constant. I don't know.
The nature of now, Richard. That's
Yeah.
another acronym we're big on. Another moniker that we use. The nature of now. We make decisions, pick choices, and take action now. Not tomorrow, not next week. It's now.
We call it din din. Do it now, do it now.
There you go. I like
it.
Din
Din.
Yeah, there you go.
Do it now.
That's perfect. Yes.
I'm a big action taker, Ryan. I am. People get annoyed with me. Sometimes dude, you're the most unbelievable activator I've ever been around. Like he's done. I go, and sometimes too fast, but it's okay. I just adjust again. It's okay. I said, you just tell me, just be careful what you tell me, because it's going to happen. Okay. It's going to be
college. I worked for a gentleman who had his own landscape business in Reading, Pennsylvania. His name was Nick Kabaki. He's still around, probably 72 or 3 years old. He used to say when we weren't going fast enough, "Huffty hup." So we knew that meant do it now, right?
Yeah,
We're not huffty hup. He just walked by and say huffty hup, and everybody knew what he meant, right? We're lagging. Let's go.
Yep. That's awesome. It's awesome, and that's you need those people. Some might call me a taskmaster, but I don't know. You got to get things done. Okay. So I just get in my wake and I'll take you. I'll be here, and you just
drag you right along. That's right.
We're going to go places. It's going to be fun. Well, Ryan, this has been awesome. How do people get in touch with you? They want to get more information, maybe part of this, maybe they got something going on. What do they got to do?
Richard, I have a book coming out, Forbes partnership with Ryan Dewey Smith. It's called Sustaining the Mission. It'll be released the 22nd of this September. More about this story, what we talked about today, 14 chapters. I think it's a really good work. It builds from my background as a child, my education, my upbringing, my first business, Imperium, a bunch of case studies. 14 of the companies are highlighted within it, where we're going next. You can reach Imperium at our website, which is www.imperium.org. You can reach me at my website, which is www.ryandeweysmith.com. And, I'd love, Richard, to get you a copy of the book when it's available for pre-release. And I think it's an easy read. I think you'll find it insightful, and maybe we could then have a follow-up conversation about it.
You got a general time frame on the pre-order that you can get?
I do not have that yet from Forbes. I should have in the next week to 10 days.
All right, cool. Well, by the time this comes out, it'll be just pre-order.
Yeah, perfect.
We don't need a date. When they hear this, do it now. Din. Do it now. Get the book. It's always good. Ryan, this has been absolutely fantastic. I appreciate all the time you give me. I love what you're doing out there. It's such a cool mix. I just like the whole crossover and all this stuff. It's really fascinating to hear all this, hear the stories, hear the insights into this. The book sounds awesome. Good for you. First book? Is this your first book?
First book. That's
way to go.
Sir. First book.
I've just finished writing my third.
Yeah, so I heard the first one's easy. The second one means you're really an author. So I guess I need to get writing again.
Keep going. Well, the second one makes them buy your first one. Okay.
That's how it works.
Don't forget, here's a business advice for you. You ain't going to get rich selling books.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just it's an authority builder. Just get it in handy, because yours has real purpose. So you just need to get it in people's hands. But I'm not saying don't buy books, but people are they're a little delusional. Unless you're James Patterson or something, you're selling like 20 million books every time you come out with one. That's a little different, but that ain't us. Okay.
Understood.
We're doing other things. We're doing bigger things.
Right.
He just sits around writing all day. We got real work to do. Okay.
That's right.
Throw a book here and there. It's okay. So yeah, so fantastic. Ryan, thank you again for the time today. This has been just awesome. And for everybody else, we'll see you on the next STS podcast. Thanks for joining me on the Sharpen the Spear podcast. If you're a manufacturing executive and you're serious about unlocking hidden profit, improving frontline leadership, and taking control of your floor, go to grit2lead.com right now. Run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator and discover where your biggest opportunities are hiding. Don't leave millions on the table. Sharpen your spear, lead from the front, and win the floor. Until next time, stay sharp.